Hi there, welcome to Wyckoff Technical Analysis session for Hype. And if you're new to my sessions, here are the 3 key takeaways you can expect from the session. So let's start with the weekly chart of Hype. Over here, we are seeing a very clean chart, obviously, because Hype is pretty young. And assuming the previous period was an accumulation during late 2024 into the first quarter of 2025, we are going through the distribution cycle, not the very end of it, but at least the middle of it. And as of the time that I was preparing the chart for this very first session for Hype, this sign of weakness hasn't appeared yet. So now I'm bringing along the tech to this side where the sign of weakness just happened this week. This price is still trending downwards, below the purple key level of $37.15. So this may not be over yet. However, even though the candlestick may look a little bit scary, but compared to last week, the current volume isn't as high as what we had last week. Of course, there's still 55 hours left for this week's candle, so I'm not going to say this is not definite too early, okay? It's not over yet. What we can expect, however, is a potential LPSY, meaning a rebound, either from the blue level of $34.05, or it bounces from this purple level when this week finishes. So next week may go back to challenge the red key level of $39.75. That's one scenario. The other scenario is that, rather than getting to a rebound, if the situation continue to worsen across the board, that may, I should borrow an orange, get straight into the first stage of accumulation, the preliminary support. Alright, if what we have gone through over here is really the accumulation period, and I was referring to another chart with longer history. I forgot which one is this. Yeah, over here. Something that started way earlier, back in the end of December. So that's where I assume that we have gone through an accumulation, during the first quarter of this year. So back to the chart that we've drawn, the scale. So assuming that it is the case, by the time when it comes down to challenge the light blue key level of $28.25, it may have started the early stage of accumulation in the bigger time frame. Alright, so two scenarios may play out. As of now, it's still, I would say, this probably gets 60% of the chance. This bounce, let's say, get 20. The other 20 goes to a second test, that it may go back to challenge the yellow key level of $47.18, somewhere around that range. Alright, it all depends on whether good things or good news will come out. Let's take a look at the daily chart. Here, let's assume we have gone through another distribution back in the end of October. Alright, what we are seeing now, over the past few days, we have gone through an automatic reaction. That's the down leg from the buying climax, and then an LPSY. Potentially now, it's showing a sign of weakness over here that may rebound and eventually get to the accumulation cycle for the daily. it's different from the weekly, okay? Even though the names are the same. In the daily chart, things or cycles happen more frequently, and the levels, the change of levels where they get to the selling climax or where they get to the buying climaxes, they can accumulate at this level as well as accumulating at a higher level. So it's a real challenge to plug in Wyckoff analysis in the daily chart. All right, it's based on the community request. It's more of an experiment. So when you look at this, don't treat this as something that's like rock solid, okay? It's more of an experimental approach that show us some indication. So here, we're getting to the point where we talk about the downtrend. So if I draw a box, right? So there are two things happening right now. One, we are in a small downtrend after this mini uptrend, but we are actually in a bigger downtrend that started from this UTAD back in mid-September. Okay, don't lose track of what's happening bigger while we are focusing on like the immediate trend that started just about 2 weeks ago. So assuming that this is the actual bigger downtrend that started for over 2 months now. Okay, while it's still trending towards the lower right hand side, the assumption of it heading towards the preliminary support and eventually the selling climax, these two will get the higher probability. And I have to draw a center line for this as well, because if you're new to my sessions, the use of this box or how to read the box is that the prices or the candlesticks basically bounces within the box like when we play air hockey. Okay, so it's ping pong, ping pong, ping. So you see this bounce, and also around the center line, and then 2 bounces here, 1 bounce here, and now it bouncing off the center line again. Of course, the key levels play a role whenever it get close to those lines. All right, you see those intermittent change of heads and tails. All right, so it's a combination of both these air hockey tables as well as the key levels. So right now there's no immediate things that's going to happen when the ceiling or the bottom of this channel box cuts across those key levels. It's still pretty far down the timeline. All right, the ceiling crosses the red mid-December, the purple close to Christmas, the blue beginning of next year. Unless something crazy happens that it breaks out early, I don't know what kind of good announcement will trigger that. Maybe more money printing. That's one case. Or if the World Trade Order is getting to something that's very, very exciting for everybody, that may be another that can push the price to break out, changing this trend that started for 2 months. Otherwise, it will continue to challenge the lower levels. So look at what happened just March, April this year. We are not talking about 2 years ago, not the cycle in 2022-23. Just look at what happened the first quarter of this year. Hype was there. Okay, if things goes bad, these are the levels that's totally possible. So the second patch of rainbow colors. we are at the higher patch now and heading towards those patches. Okay, so be cautious really when you buy the dip right now, because the storm may have just started, and if this is really getting to the end of distribution for hype, and getting to the accumulation cycle, that's like about a 70% drop to the very bottom. No, not saying this is the absolute bottom, because things can go deeper, but just to let you know the risk. When you see consecutive weeks of red, there's still chance for it to go up, but then it's slimmer than towards the south. All right, so thanks for joining me for hype